Welcome. Watercolor Westport Stories podcast is here because we want to build community and to inspire you to come and visit this beautiful little village of Westport. Today we are sitting down with one of the pillars of what we believe builds community, and that is a public library. The library in Westport is centrally located right downtown, steps off the harbor front, and today we have with us Pam, who is going to share a little bit about its history and her role at the library. So welcome, Pam.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's really a delight to sit down with you. We often talk about, the pharmacy, the grocery, the library, all these things, the winery, all these things that seem to rhyme together easily. But the library, in my heart and in my experience, definitely has been a pillar of my local community, and I know it has a significant role here in the village. I would love to hear just a little bit about how a library came to be in the village of Westport.
The library's actually been in the village a long time. The library opened officially in 1957 on the current location. The senator for that time, who was from Brockville, George Fulford, he helped get the property from the federal government as it was severed from the post office property.
Okay.
And following that, we relocated to a bookmobile while the current building was being built, which was in '87 that it opened. So next year, the library will actually be celebrating its 70th anniversary.
Amazing. What a legacy. I know it's right there, right next to the post office, right steps off the harbor front, off of Main Street. I knew there was a history there for sure, and to choose to put it there, that was part of a bigger plan to make it a spot in the village you just can't miss.
There was actually a smaller library even before that, was, I think, either on Church Street or Bedford Street in an old butcher shop. But we don't have any records going back that far. Our records go back to the 50s.
Okay. Well, that's a long time to have a public library, and to keep it going, I'm sure, is a community effort. Tell me about your role at the library. How did you become the librarian?
I was a student that worked in the library over several summers. And then when it came time to build the new library, the current person working there was not interested in transferring into the new building. So the board hired me, and I spent the winter in a bookmobile over near the community center.
Oh boy.
While the library was being built. And then we opened in May of '87.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of changes over the decades in how libraries are run and what kind of content you carry. And I'd love to hear just a little bit about that history, what your reflections are on those early days. And
well, from the time of doing all the cards for the card catalog, typing them up in the 80s, to getting into computers and learning Windows 5.1 and Lotus 123.
Oh boy.
That was a challenge, trying to figure out both of those programs. And then when we went with an automated computer system, then we had to enter every book into the database.
Okay, that would have been a monumental effort.
Yes. And then when we went to barcodes, that was interesting too. Fortunately had a student doing community service hours. Mm-hmm. So he helped associate the barcodes with the books.
And label everything. Do you know how vast a collection you have? How many books are in the Westport Library?
We've actually got less books now than we had a number of years ago. Mm-hmm. Because people's tastes are changing. Mm-hmm. And we probably have about 10,000 in the collection. And of course, people have a wide selection of books that they can access through Libby, both audiobooks and ebooks, plus magazines.
Okay. Libby is an online platform that is available.
It's free for downloading we subscribe to it so that our patrons can have free access to it.
That's wonderful. So things like ebooks can just easily be downloaded for reading and
yes,
borrowed
they can.
Out. Amazing. How do you think that the change of the physical library has evolved? I mean, it's still a hub of the community, and you still have a lot of programming going on there.
I'm finding that the libraries are branching out into different things. Like, we are currently working on trying to develop a maker space.
Oh.
We had a 3D printer donated to us. We've had a sewing machine donated, and then a Cricut. So we're working on expanding that. And some of the libraries, they loan out things like fishing tackle.
Oh, well, steps off the harbor. Wait till you do that.
And there, you can get snowshoes, kayaks.
Oh my goodness.
And paddle boards at some of the libraries. It's really surprising what libraries have branched out into.
Yeah, it sounds like endless possibilities. When it comes to curating the book collection, though, is that your role?
Yes. I do most of the cataloging. I do have a volunteer that helps with some of it, and she's really great to have around. Right now we're trying to make room for the renovations, so we are slimming down the collection and pulling books that aren't that popular anymore. But we do have access to books throughout the whole province through the interlibrary loan system. So if we do remove something that somebody wants later on, we can get it from another library.
That's remarkable. Because for a smaller village, to have access to that larger network of books, it seems very empowering in my mind, to anybody raising a family or anyone interested in learning something new, that they can get to the library and get the resources that, delivered to them.
And we're actually what they call a net lender. We loan out more interlibrary loan books than we borrow.
Really? How far afield do your lending arms reach?
Mostly they stay in Ontario, but I have sent books out to the East Coast a few times.
Oh my goodness.
Because some of them were written specifically by someone that was from our area.
Okay.
So we will have them in our collection.
And then somebody wants them and out it goes. And do you have sort of expertise in that area in terms of the history of authors and people that have come from Westport?
Quite a few. I know who they are and what they've done, and even in some cases where they lived. Because there's been some very interesting people that have lived around here.
Oh, I'd love to hear about some of them.
Were you ever a brownie when you were little?
No, I did a program called Pioneer Girls out of our church, so I did not do brownies, but I bought the cookies faithfully.
Yes. Well, there was a woman named Lynn Waddell who wrote the story in the Brownie handbook, and anybody who was a Brownie member and did the little twist me and turn me and show me an elf, she wrote that.
Oh.
And she actually lived in the village for quite a while with her daughter, Deborah Waddell. But she wrote under the name Lynn Cook, and she wrote quite a few different children's books, which we have quite a few of them in the library.
Wow, that is a national program that had some influence and roots right here in Westport.
Well, I think she was in the Ottawa area when she did it, but still it's nice to have something like that. And then we had Robert Sutherland, who was a fairly well-known author that lived in the area. He wrote young adult books.
Okay. And did you have sort of an opportunity to ever gather with any authors in the library? Is that something that you do, is bring in authors for book signings or special events?
We haven't had the space for that lately, but some of the plans are to be able to do that. We did have a writer's reading one night at the Shillington Park, and we had, I think it was 5 local authors that were reading from their books. And then they could sell them at the same time. That was one of the things that the previous board did.
Okay. Was it well received?
Oh yes, it was quite a fun night.
Yeah. Again, building community around learning and expressing creativity is really a privilege, I think. In many communities that does not happen, so that's really great. How did you get inspired to become a librarian?
Oh, well, I think I sort of fell into it because I just loved reading.
Okay.
And after working in the library for a few summers, they thought, okay, I at least know how to do things in there, so that I fell into that and then picked up things along the way.
Yeah. That's really neat. If someone was to step in the doors of the Westport Library, what would they expect to see?
you never know what's happening in there. We have our group on Fridays that come in and do the Westport Fiber Addicts Anonymous, who sit and chat and do different handicrafts, usually to do with fiber, but they are very welcoming for other people coming in that have other interests.
Okay.
We have mothers groups that sometimes meet in the back room or just get together to chat and let their kids play in a safe environment.
And do you do any adult kind of book clubs, or are there things that people can join to discover more?
We have a book club that has been running or meeting in the library for quite a few years called the Spine Benders.
Spine Benders,
Yes.
okay.
So they meet the first Monday of the month for about 8 months out of the year. They take some time off during the summer and time off in the new year.
Okay.
And they've been coming, and they've got quite a good sized group.
And they just gather to read books together and discuss the topics. And
They give me a title, I get the copies in for them, and
oh, wonderful.
they pick it up when they have the discussion of one book, and then they read the book before the next meeting, and then they pick up their next book.
Wow, that's encouraging, because I think sometimes reading in isolation can maybe not be you're not as motivated to finish that book, but then if you know that you have a group of people relying on you to contribute to a conversation about it, maybe you finish that book.
Yes.
Or you read titles that you wouldn't naturally choose for
That's true.
yourself.
There's a lot of them that find they get pushed to read something that
Yeah.
they normally wouldn't. And
Are you an avid reader yourself?
I do read quite a bit.
Yes.
Not as much as I used to.
Well, I'm sure you're exposed to a lot, so to get just even glimpses of what's coming in the door and to curate the collection too.
Well, and I'm always curious to see what new books are coming out. And I try to find some different authors. And if there's one that sounds really interesting, and I'm thinking, okay, this is part of a series, then what I do is I'll ask for a book on interlibrary loan, like one of the first ones in the series, and then get a couple of people to read it, to let me know what they think of it before I commit to buying the rest of the books.
Oh, that's a really good strategy. Yeah, especially if you get the buy-in from a few others and some recommendations from people that you respect their opinions. That helps. Yeah.
And the other librarians are always fabulous. If you have a question, you could send out an email to hit like all the libraries at once, and you could get back 30 responses within 15 minutes.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? So you're not working in isolation at all. Yeah, yeah.
And if you really have a problem, they're great at helping you figure out what to do.
So you walk in the door, there's this welcoming space, lots of books to explore. You have a fiber group that comes in. Is there a spot to just sit and read a book yourself, or what's it like for the physical space?
We have the Tchaikovsky room, which is a little corner just inside the library door that has some comfortable chairs to sit and read, and it's quite a nice little corner that is sort of sheltered from the rest of the space.
And you can bring your kids, and do you have homeschool groups that meet there, or any homework helpers for other children?
We've had people in tutoring.
Okay.
Because it's a good place to meet for tutoring.
Yes.
We have some parents that come in to our homeschooling, and they will ask for certain materials that they need to follow the program, and they will sometimes meet with other parents and share their experience and wisdom.
Yeah, that's always helpful in choosing curriculum and guiding, learning. That's a big responsibility for sure. Do the students at local schools rely on the library? Or do they have their own libraries within the schools?
I think they have their own libraries.
So you're really here for the rest of the population more so, but that's really interesting. Do you have, I think we mentioned earlier, you have computers in the library for public use?
Yes, we do.
Do they have to be reserved in advance? How do people use those?
Most times people just walk in and they're able to use the computer. If they can't, then if somebody else is on it, then we have a laptop that we can loan them to use
Okay. So a lot of different services. Yeah. What do you think of when you think of the progression towards more digital access? Has that been a positive, do you think, for the reading population out there?
I think in a lot of ways it has, because you don't have to wait for the material to come in. You can access it. As long as it's a reputable site, you can find almost anything you need on the internet. And then sometimes there's certain databases that you can have access to. Because we have Ancestry Library Edition on the computer. So you have to be in the library to use it. But it gives you almost the same as what Ancestry does. You can have the same access. And if you find like a document, like if you found your great-grandfather's birth certificate, you could email it to yourself.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of power right there at the end of your fingertips. Yeah.
And there is a limit to what you can do. You can't make your family tree on there.
Sure.
But it's an option, because if you want to get into genealogy, you can do it, but without having to worry about the expense.
Right.
Because Ancestry is not cheap for somebody to use at home. And if you don't have the time to spend using it, then you're wasting your money.
Right. Right.
And in this day and age, that doesn't work for anybody.
No, of course. And to have it in a shared space is much better. Yeah. I know that there's an active group of people in the community called the Friends of the Westport Library. And I know that the village is very much involved in supporting the library. I'd love to hear your thoughts on FOWL, as they're called, and what role they play in keeping the library doors open.
FOWL's been a fabulous help with the operation of the library. They are great at getting the information out there about the library and being ready to speak up for what the library needs.
Okay.
And they've created so much buzz with their activities that they've created and held over the previous few years. Crowds they would draw for their book sales during the pandemic were fabulous. Because everybody was looking for something to read.
Yes. And to gather to get to do something out for a better cause too. It was very hard to draw a community together. Yeah, that's really great. I know that they'll be hosting a garden tour this year. And I know you're very involved with that. I know I've been involved because Land Art and Watercolor is one of the sponsors of the tour. The gardens will be beautiful. I know that. They'll span, I think there's 10 gardens spanning sort of the area within a 10-minute radius of the village, and many walkable within the village. The gardens at the library are done by the Friends of Westport Library or by Westport Blooms?
Westport Blooms.
Okay. Because you have beautiful baskets that are overflowing with flowers in the summer.
Yes. And I keep getting commented on them, and I say, I have nothing to do with it.
Well, you've got great community support in every direction. And so yes, for our audience, the Friends of Westport Library will be hosting a garden tour June 13th here in the village of Westport. You can buy your tickets online and plan to attend that. You'll be treated to a strawberry social at the end of the tour at the Upper Rideau B&B outdoors, and it'll be rain or shine, but we're aiming for the shine, and have a wonderful day here in the village exploring beautiful gardens and seeing just how community comes together to support an essential part of the village, which is the public library. I wonder about how you switch from librarian to village curator and host to the many requests that come through your door. How do you flip hats and make that transition?
That's a tough one. I think it helps that I've been there so long and I know the history of the village, because we get people coming in to use the archives or ask a question about somebody that used to live in the area. We also have people that come in looking for help with their passports, which luckily we have Michael Barrett's satellite office set up in the library. That they come twice a month to help people with passports or OAS applications, all different kinds of help without leaving the village, which is great. And then we have people that come in and just will ask for directions. Like at off times of the year, when the visitor center is not open, they come into the library because it's a place that would normally be open and give the people the access to the information they need, and you never know what's going to come around the corner.
What comes through the door, yeah. I didn't realize that the local member of provincial parliament keeps an office at the library. You say twice a month?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when did that begin?
They started last year.
Okay.
He came and asked about doing it because they used to do it years ago. Gord Brown had an office years ago there where he had a person come twice a month to help people with anything. And so Mr. Barrett came in and asked about restarting it. So the board was very willing to do it. So we've been having them come in and been very happy to host them.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you know, the public spaces in a small community become multi-purpose. You know, I keep hearing about the upstairs at the arena and all the programs that happen there, or things that happen at the Lions Club Beach that's an outdoor venue for so many events in the summer, or there's all of these spaces that build really a strong fabric of a community, and you're an important part of that. So it's I'm really glad that there is a library in the village of Westport.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. What do you think for programming ideas that are coming down the line? Do you have any big dreams? I know you're having some renovations done.
Yes. Well, we've got some senior programs that we want to do. And of course, everything has to wait until after the renovations are done. We are working too with the Rideau Eco-Literacy group, which encompasses the Rideau Roundtable out of the Smith Falls area. And there's 6 libraries involved: Kempville, Merrittville, Rideau Lakes, Smith Falls, Perth, and Westport. And they are involved with something at EcoFest, where they're actually planning on offering a service because they have Voyageur canoes that they have access to. And one of the things that they're offering is the chance for people to learn how to handle the canoes properly and even get possibly their Paddle Canada certificate so that they can take out people.
Okay.
And the training for that is going to be the same day as the EcoFest here in Westport. So it's going to be down at the harbour.
Okay. And the library is a pivotal part of making that come together.
And then last year they ran some programs that were held in the different libraries, and I think they're planning on doing it again this year.
Well, a big part of sustainability and environmental awareness is education. And the library has a significant role in education, obviously. It's nice that you offer the space there, but then you're also participating in other ways to advance better sustainability of practices within the community at the community scale. Yeah, that's really interesting. Have you been out on a big canoe yet?
No.
No.
Because usually it happens there when I'm at work.
Oh. How many people can fit in these canoes?
The big one will take up to 18.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And this is when, in May?
I think it's around long weekend in May.
Okay. EcoFest. Look it up. It'll be online somewhere. Find out the details and be part of that.
And if anybody's interested, I have the information for registering for the sessions. Okay. There is a fee that will be charged. There's a shorter session, and then the full session for the Paddle Canada is a little bit more expensive.
Okay. And you get certified to be able to navigate a canoe.
Well, the large canoes.
The large canoes. That would be interesting. That's a very unique experience, and to be able to have that right here in the village.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really, really neat. Do you think that when you look at, as I say, down the road, you're making renovations for accessibility, you're talking about getting together more with seniors and having more programming, would there be some overlap with any other community organizations that you partner with?
We do partner with the museum because we have the archives are located in the library because we're open year-round, while the museum unfortunately cannot be. And we also house some of their more sensitive things.
Okay.
And then we have groups that we have helped in the past, and hopefully we will continue helping them in the future.
I just wonder about, like, I know the Lions Club does their mobility van service. They have probably a lot of contact with people maybe in the community who might be shut in and how to make the library accessible to those people as well.
And the Lions Club is very generous. They have sponsored the large print book collection that we take part in every year. And because helping people with sight issues has been one of their programs for years.
Okay. Well, that does help a person's quality of life as, things change and still have access to be able
And we do
to...
have access to something called CELA too.
What is that?
CELA, which is the Center for Equitable Library Access, which gives people that have problems with their vision access to materials, even newspapers, in a format that they can either read them or have them read to them.
By a technology that's in use. Okay.
It's a system that is available throughout the whole country.
Okay.
So we're registered with it so that if somebody comes in that requires it or wants to access the system, we have we just have to register the patron, and then CELA will contact them and go from there.
Isn't that wonderful? There is just so much you're overseeing in the library to deliver the best possible experience to the patrons and to the village. Everyone who lives here can walk in the doors and feel welcome and be able to be supported in whatever part of their experience that they're looking for, either literacy or, as you're saying, access, which is quite remarkable. Is there anything else you want to share with us about the library that we haven't covered that you think people should be aware of?
I don't think so right now, other than that we're hoping once we get all the renovations done, then we can resume our children's programs, because they've sort of taken the back seat for the last little while.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to the renovations being done in the children's room and having a good-sized group in there.
Nice.
To explore and see what everything's going to look like when they're done.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of cottagers coming in too to use the library seasonally?
Oh yes, and there's some cottagers that have been coming here for years.
Okay.
So the weather's getting better when you see them starting to walk through the door.
Looking for that good Sunday afternoon book.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Well, thanks for taking the time to sit down.
You're very welcome.
I can't tell you how much we've appreciated that. And as I say, for Landark and for Watercolor, to have a public library in the village is just such a tremendous asset to just the quality of life that can be enjoyed here. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
We invite you to come to explore the village of Westport and enjoy the fall Friends of Westport Library Garden Tour. It'll be June 13th. You can find information online at the Friends of Westport Library Facebook page. And come and experience the village for yourself. The library is open 5 days a week, the model home 7 days a week. If you come to explore watercolor, you will see that there are opportunities here to thrive and enjoy a village that is ripe with a lot of wonderful amenities. We look forward to meeting you at the model home, and you can like, follow, and share this podcast on all of your favorite platforms. And if you have an idea for us for another guest, please drop it in the comments. Thanks.